Hello. So I was playing with the recent vulnerability that was just announced this morning around pkexec in Polkit, and I was curious: is this vulnerability susceptible when running on a system through a Apptainer or a Singularity container? And so decided to test it and document my findings. So here's my host system. You can see I'm running a 8.4 version of Rocky Linux. If I look at what version of Polkit is installed, you'll see it is a vulnerable version. And you can see I'm running as me. In this directory, I have the exploit code already compiled. And if I execute that exploit code, you'll see I am now root. It was pretty easy to get root, as you can see. So now what I'm curious on is, as I said, does this work when I'm running through an Apptainer container? So I've created a Rocky container using this recipe, where I'm basically taking, out of Docker Hub, I'm taking the Rocky container and a default Rocky container, and I'm basically just installing these two packages in there, Polkit and Polkit libs. I'm using this method just to ensure that I am getting the vulnerable versions of these packages. And then I built that, and you can see, here's the container file. If you're not familiar with Apptainer or Singularity, this container system builds single file based containers. So inside that single executable file, I have my entire container, and I can execute that file directly, or I can use Apptainer to basically get an active shell inside of that container, which is what I'm going to do. So now you can see I'm sitting inside of this container, and you can see my host was running Rocky Linux 8.4. Now I'm sitting in 8.5 inside of this container. I did install, as you saw in the previous recipe file, that Polkit is installed, and it is a vulnerable version of Polkit, which then means I should be able to run this exploit. Oh, and I should show you I am not root inside of this container. So if I run this payload in the current directory, which by the way again is the current directory where I started. So if I run the payload here, I should end up with root. I should end up with a root prompt, but I'm not. It's actually blocking the privilege escalation going through pkexec, and pkexec doesn't exactly know why that it's not running with the appropriate privileges. So it just gives a default error message saying that pkexec must be installed setuid root. Let's just confirm that it actually is. And it is, as you can see. It is actually installed setuid root. But the exploit did not work. So if you do have users on your systems that are using Apptainer or Singularity, this exploit is not going to be vulnerable through this container runtime. So that was the gist of what I wanted to show. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself, the Apptainer community, or my company, Control IQ. Thank you.